Aberdeen quarry. Welcome to this historic place. Please use this private land responsibly.
After scratching on the Grand Loop bikepacking race, I found myself in Colorado without a plan, but I had all the gear I needed for bikepacking. I decided to head to Gunnison, Colorado to check out a couple of routes from the Gunnison Bikepacking Route Network. I chose the Hartman Rocks Overnighter for its relatively mild amount of climbing and short distance as a way to test out my lungs in the higher altitude. The scenic high desert loop was created by area resident and bikepacking.com presenter Neil Beltchenko.
My redemption ride to Hartman Rocks, and it should be just a fun overnighter. Get my confidence back after yesterday's fail. So here we are in Gunnison. Clouds are looking gray, but I did a weather report with the app, put the route in, and it didn't say there was rain, so oh well, we'll see.
The route exited town primarily using bike lanes and trails, many of which paralleled the Gunnison Crested Butte Regional Airport.
That's cool. We're already on a dirt road and we're still just into town. Hangers on the left, pine trees on the right. Still just on the edge of town, and look how pretty it is already. Over here on my right is Hartman Rocks, and that's a mountain bike mecca. Tons of really fun technical trails over there. That's where we're going. Further on to catch the gravel road. Oh, look at this view behind me. Isn't that gorgeous? I'm in.
The first 3.5 miles of climbing were on tarmac, which was a good warm-up for my lungs and legs.
I get bored looking at these. They're so cool. And such a contrast to the sagebrush hills over here. Entering gravel. I just got an eat alarm on my bike, so I'm stopping for a snack. Look, it's back there. Isn't that gorgeous? I feel so lucky to be out here. There's signs of a creek bed off here to my right. Lots of plant life. You can see some reeds growing in there. So far I haven't seen any actual water. I'm wondering if it's just in the very early spring. Seem to be entering another sort of area here. Doing a little climb. Turning onto a low maintenance road. This is pretty.
The nice thing about riding this shorter route was not feeling a pressure to keep moving and to cover a lot of miles. I found myself enjoying the beauty of the route more.
An even more primitive road. Incredible up here. Just climbed up a hill and just views everywhere you look. It's gorgeous.
The initial climb ended around 10 miles, delivering me to a high plateau with views of the West Elk Mountains and Sawatch Range. What followed was a fun 2-track descent with miles of views and plenty of smiles.
I feel like I'm on top of everything.
I mean, can you believe this view?
Bunch of quartz on the ground. Rocks. Clouds up there. Oh man, that was close. Inspect the sand. Some down coming. Must be getting close to the creek. Aberdeen quarry. Welcome to this historic place. Please use this private land responsibly.
In 1888, granite discovered from the Aberdeen quarry was selected for the Colorado State Capitol building. The mined granite shipped by rail to Denver using a spur that was constructed to connect the site to an existing rail system. The quarry was most active from 1889 to 1892, and the small community of Aberdeen emerged along South Beaver Creek.
Let's cut off a little bit to explore this quarry. Down there is the creek. Don't worry, I'm not gonna be stupid. Wow. This rock is very grippy. Oh wow. Look at this. Anything better than rocks or holes in rocks. Check that out, it's so cool. All right, I suppose I better keep going so I can make camp. Shout out to these Pearl Izumi shoes, by the way. Very grippy. Huh.
After a spicy
there we go.
descent, I reached South Beaver Creek, where the locals were enjoying the water.
You want to get by?
Once across the river, I found a campsite perched near some rocks and just across from where I'd been hiking just minutes earlier.
Okay, here's a tour of my beautiful yet pretty wonky campground. Just look at the views. It's so private. That's why I chose this spot. I love it. Bike is having action to hold up my bivvy here, and we've got bivvy tied to the tree, staked to the ground, some soft ground over there, soft ground here. Gotta watch out for this cactus. Bike is acting like a clothesline to dry out my clothes from today. Hopefully it doesn't rain, but I have backup plan. And then under here, my comfy little Betty Bye.
After setting up camp, it was time for eating a cold soaked dinner, watching the sunset, then off to bed in my own little fort tucked into the rocks. It was a good day. In the route description, it suggests taking the bags off your bike and going out for an 8-mile ride on single track before heading back. I decided to heed the suggestion. I tucked my bags among the rocks at my campsite and headed out for some fun.
Out for a little single track ride this morning. I took the bags off my bike and left them back at camp so I can do some riding.
At nearly 9,000 feet of elevation, the effort felt harder than usual, but I enjoyed cruising along the path carved into the sage-covered hills. Plus, the views were incredible. This Aberdeen quarry loop is part of the Hartman Rocks recreation area, which includes over 14,000 acres of public land managed by the Bureau of Land Management and 160 acres owned by the city of Gunnison in Gunnison County. Hartman Rocks has 45 miles of single track, 45 miles of roads, and 50 dispersed campsites. The area draws mountain bikers, hikers, trail runners, and dirt bikes. In the winter, 16 miles of roads are groomed for cross-country classic and skate skiing. They even groom some of the single track for fat biking. Eventually, the loop brought me back to the campsites just west of where I'd left my bags. I was so happy that I made the time to have some unloaded bike fun before heading back. I didn't have far to go today, just about 14 miles. I'd follow a few gravel roads, crossing South Beaver Creek once more, and passing some designated camping areas. As I neared the Hartman Rocks trailhead, I'd be treated to some single track before exiting the recreation area and heading back to Gunnison. I'd be back in town easily for a hot cup of coffee at the hostel.
Continuing on the route, and guess what? I get to redo the climb I did this morning for the Aberdeen Loop single track. That's okay, there's some really pretty wildflowers along there.
I observed many spring wildflowers that call this area home, including primrose, phlox, fleabane, prickly pear, western wildflower, lupine, and paintbrush. As I entered this relatively easy part of the route, mostly downhill and on a wide gravel road, I reflected on how it's nice when a route provides variations in the rhythm of the riding. Right now, I'm coasting along, enjoying the scenery. Earlier this morning, I was spinning in my easiest gear to climb out of a valley.
This part is pretty.
Yesterday, I transitioned from tarmac to gravel to two-track to sand and rock. The variations keep me engaged with the riding and also allow my body to use different muscle groups. I should mention too that, man, it's just fun to go fast. Gradually, the landscapes around me started to change. Rocky outcroppings returned. I became embedded in the sage-covered hills that I'd previously been looking down on. Trees lined empty stream beds. Every now and then, I'd stop to say hi to the locals.
Aw. Never alone out here.
As I neared the McCabe entrance to Hartman Rocks, signs of civilization started to appear.
This is pretty.
Increasingly, I saw signs for camping and trail crossings.
So cool. Where's Mom and Dad? Well, come here. Well, come here. You want to come here? You're a good boy.
Unlike the dog I saw in New Mexico, this guy didn't seem to need any help. I followed him down the road until he reunited with his family that was camping.
Dogs owners found. Now I just have this climb with a really freaking beautiful view. Look at that. Can you get a better view than that? Right now I just said no. Wow. This has got everything. What a beautiful route.
While I enjoy this beautiful descent, I want to take a moment to point out that this route is part of the Gunnison Bikepacking Route Network on bikepacking.com. If you're like me and want to make Gunnison your base camp for a few overnighters, they have 4 overnighter routes of varying difficulties available. There are also a couple of multi-day routes listed. Altogether, there are 580 miles of established, purposefully planned routes stewarded by Neil Beltchenko.
Here we go. Oh.
The grand finale of the Hartman Rocks portion of the route was a descent on single track back to the trailhead. Riding single track on a loaded bike always amps up the fun.
Trust the fool, you learn so like the last time that you showed.
Heading back into town. Oh my God, that last part was a blast. I could really feel the difference on a weighted bike because I pumped a bunch of air in my shocks to account for the weight. So this morning when I was out, I was bouncing all over the place. but I felt perfect when I was loaded down.
Soon I was back in town, sipping on an iced coffee. Next, I'd head back to the hostel to prep for tomorrow's adventure. Coming up on the channel. Tomorrow I'd tackle 3,400 feet of climbing and 15 miles on the Lost Canyon Overnighter. I'd camp among the aspens and wildflowers, then enjoy the views on twisty, fun descents.